Narrow here, you're joining me in Hampshire, England, UK, and I'm at Farron Creek, and over my shoulder there you'll see the lifeboat riding high, and it's a beautiful place this time of year. And I'm going to do another JJ's Museum videos because I noticed in my first one there was a comment left by Simon Burton, and it says, I'm going to read it verbatim, I wrote it out. JJ, what are your thoughts on chemtrails? And he goes on, for years I held out against believing they were anything more than jet engine condensations. But the skies were never crisscrossed with these things until a few years ago, and they don't dissipate like water vapour. What are they up to? Well, first of all, you're going to have to find what you mean by they. So the second thing is, what are we talking about? And the third thing is, nothing's changed. They've always been there. I'm afraid your soul's not in the same place as it used to be, Simon. So, what are we talking about first? Well, let's point the camera up at the sky. As you can see, they're everywhere, and they always have been. If you go back and look at old films, you will notice they're in old films. They even put them in cartoons. They pencil them in. So you say, well, they never used to be there. Well, that's maybe true, but you're not there where they wasn't, if you understand that. So what actually are they? Well, basically, as the planes go in the sky, the aircraft, the engines are turbo, and they create a contrail that mixes up the air and compresses it, and as a result you get water vapour out the back. And if you add some heavy metals to that, as in strontium, aluminum, or in the UK aluminium or barium, one of these heavy metals, what that does is it pushes all the water elements apart. So quite a very small level, it keeps pushing them apart, and pushing them apart, so they spread out across the sky, as opposed to pull together and evaporate back into gas, which is the hydrogen and oxygen. That's the heavy metals prevent that from happening. So that's why they spread out across the sky the way they do. But there is also a nanotechnology which is embedded in it, which some believe have been put in there for nefarious reasons, and this is what is descending upon us, as it does descend over time onto all the things we eat, onto the veg, and onto all the wildlife, and the animals consume it, and this can self-assemble in the body, so they claim. Now, if you want a solution to this, there are some things I've come up with myself to deal with it. But I just want to carry on talking about the actual jet engines themselves for a while, because one of the things you will noticed, I mentioned you might have changed where you are. Well, the jet engines are not under the wings of the planes as you will remember them from the reality you've been in. Now, through the whole of time, the jet engines have always been out of the front of the wings on a what you might call a tripod affair, and only about 10% of the engine is under the wing, and this allows the mixture of the air for the chemtrails to really stir up under the turbulence of the wing, and that's why they're so far forward. But they've always been that way. So if you recall a time when the jet engines were firmly under a wing, you're not mistaken, it's just that you're not there anymore. And that reality path that you was treading, you've probably become aware or awakened, and you're now somewhere different for a more tougher life lesson, I should imagine. So that's why they're more prevalent in the sky, and they stay up there all day. So that's that. So solutions. Well, obviously within the matrix itself, as in what we experience as life, you do get overwritten, as in 13 times a year there's an overwriting of the reality as we perceive it, and that happens as also further ones go for the collective decisions that are made. And we had one in England here a while back, they called it Brexit, and when that was voted for, we had a massive shift in reality. So when we shift in reality, we can then notice differences on the new timeline going back in the past. So one of these things I noticed was the jet engines, and I also noticed that my sky was getting filled with rubbish and stopping me from having access to the wonderful sunlight. Now, sunlight is probably the main reason that they're doing it, because sunlight is also not just good for our health, it also gives us information. So if you can block out the information, you can control people from knowing their true path. And that's what I think the simulation, for want of a better word, is up to. It's stopping you from seeing what you're truly meant to see, and that's the denying force, which I often talk about. So what can we do as solutions for it? Well, when we get to the nanotechnology, one of the things I like to use is magnets, and I've got something here which I made, and this is a piece of breathing tube, and in it I've got some rare earth magnets, and they're really strong, and I've put negative to negative, positive to positive, and forced them down there with a knitting needle. So there's a distorted magnetic field in a ring, and if I put that round my wrist as my blood goes through that magnetic field, distorted one at that, then it will help make the nanotechnology inert. So that's the plan, make it inert, but then you still have to get out of the body. And there are some supplements which you can use to then extract it out of the body. One of the ones I would suggest, but you've got to be a complete, how can I put it, dedicated to the cause if you go down this road. But one of the ones I would use is zeolite. Zeolite is a mineral. Basically it's lava that's come out of a volcano, and it's solidified in fresh water, normally cold water, and it goes into a honeycomb type affair, and it attracts some nasties to it, but once it attracts it to it, it stays there. It stays within the honeycomb structure of the zeolite, and I've consumed it, and I know of other people who have done as well. It's not something I'd recommend. It's there's lots of negatives as well, but if I'd say got a nasty thing beginning with C, which you're not allowed to talk about, and I had some therapy, which is a derivative of Agent Orange, whirling around my body to deal with said illness, maybe I might think about consuming this afterwards to get rid of the chemicals they use to try and treat it. That's one of the reasons. That's the only reason I can think of that you probably want to use it for now, because it has lots of other effects which I wouldn't recommend. But another one for detoxifying would be bentonite clay, which is great. You can consume that, stir it up, sometimes have it with some helium husk, and put that amongst gut flora, and that will take out any heavy metals or toxins as it passes through your system. So that's another way of cleaning your body and trying to stay in this world as healthy as you possibly can, and in these modern times that's a challenge. Now people say to me, "What is it safe? Is it safe?" And they normally just had a McDonald's or a Burger King or something like that a couple of days ago. You're happy to eat that, but you're not happy to put a bit of clay inside your body. It's kind of strange. So what else have we got there? Look at the sun behind me, it's gorgeous, isn't it? So what else? I've made a few notes here because I knew I was going to be rabbiting on about this for ages. So we've got the heavy metals I spoke about, the solutions, yeah, I've mentioned them. And what else have I put there? Yeah, the matrix itself. So basically what we've got to deal with is the fact that everybody is kind of realizing that the world isn't what they've been told at different rates, and it's knowing when to cut back and say, okay, leave that person alone, let them figure it out for themselves. It's difficult because once you know, you want to scream at people, telling them, look, for example, let's use these lines, look at the skies, It's like, yeah, but there's nothing you can do about it, because that's what you've got to deal with in your reality stream now. So, but try and sunbathe. That's another thing I'm going to suggest. Make sure you have some vitamin K and vitamin E before you do sunbathe, say a day before, because that helps to make the vitamin D after you receive the sunlight. So anytime you look up in the sky and you see there aren't any trails across it and you've got some beautiful clean sunlight, it's time to expose your skin to it as much as you possibly can. Even this time of year, and when it's low in the sky, the information is still within the sun. So that's my recommendation. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back on the boat, and I'm going to demonstrate to you some of the bentonite clay and the zeolite, show you what it looks like, and just talk to what I did and explain to you anything else I can think about these chemtrails. And this is going to be yeah, let's go aboard the boat, shall we? So we're aboard the lifeboat now, and I'm just going to run through some of the things I was speaking about earlier. I've got a bag of zeolite now, and I've had this about 10 years. It's been a long time, so that's how long I've been doing this sort of stuff. Now, like I said, this stuff has been, if I just take a spoonful to show you first, it's very powdery, and it's a very fine sand, but it's got a honeycomb structure in it at a very micro scale, so any, put that in the glass, any nasties are attracted to it if they're positively charged, because that has a negative charge to it, so it attracts it to it and it hides it deep within that honeycomb. Then you pass it through your system and get rid of it. So that's what it is. Now, I've brought with me also, I've got some reverse osmosis water. It's been mainly filtered, so it's pure. You can use distilled water as well. Distilled water's fine. This is something, like I say, I'm just showing you that I've done this, so I'm not I practice what I've mentioned on these videos. So what I would show you is, as you pull that in there, as I say, it's very fine dust. So I'm not going to have much of this because it's like I said, I don't have any detoxifying issues I need to worry about right now. I've done it so much over the years that I'm happy with where my body is when it comes to heavy metals and stuff like that. But it does help, like I said, with this zeolite. I would definitely use this if I'd been in a hospital environment receiving some I don't want to say the word on YouTube, but you know, you can't make any claims, you know, and if you want any information, you've got to go to the NHS website to get all the up-to-date stuff you need to know about. Well, there you go. Right, so just to show you, I haven't had that for a few years now, so it just basically, it's like just drinking fresh water with sand in it, but very light sand. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's quite satisfying. Now, one of the things I remember, someone I used to know who was pregnant, and when I showed them this stuff, they said this is what they were craving when they were pregnant, and it was probably the reason being is trying to get rid of toxins out your body before you conceive a child, or as you conceive a child, is quite a challenge, and they might have done that. But like I said, I'm not sure what effects that has on the kidneys, but like I said, I've consumed this years ago, and I'm still here, and hey-ho. But the one I do a lot more these days is bentonite clay. Now, clay, like I say, that's the elephants like to use the clay, and it's really totally different to the zeolite. Now, it looks almost identical, but this stuff goes into a paste, and you almost have to lick it as opposed to drink it. It's I'll put like I said, the reverse osmosis water. Now, the trouble with this is it takes ages to stir it into the water to get all the particles in amongst the water. It takes forever. But what you can do with this is put psyllium huskins or something to absorb it. So as it's going through your gut, it can pull all the heavy metals and all the toxins out of the biofilm that tends to coagulate around our gut wall, which also inhibits it from doing that parabolic movement in order to push our stools through as it absorbs the nutrients from our gut. So like I said, this is really better. You will notice it if you do this. You will notice the difference. I can assure you of that. It's something I did notice. As you can see, even on the end of the spoon there, it goes like a paste, and that's dry, and it's not unpleasant, to be honest. It's quite nice in a weird way, because you expect it to be horrible, and it's like, actually, that's okay. So like I said, drinking this will help take any toxins you've had out, and believe it or not, there's lots of them in our modern world. We think we're immune to them, but they're everywhere. So just to show you, I practice what I mention on these videos. I'm not somebody who would ask or encourage other people to do something I wouldn't be prepared to do myself. but we have challenges, and I think the communities we can build together now and bring everyone together, I think is the way forward. And in these musing videos, one of the things I want to do is encourage communities to get to know each other again, especially in your local area. So do you know your neighbours? Do you know where to source food locally, where it's grown locally? Can you encourage someone who is trying to run a small business, a small holding, where they grow their own vegetables, or keep chickens, pigs, and if you're okay with eating meat, all these things, just get to know everyone and get to know them on first name terms, get to know their lives, what their interests are, and just rebuild the community. Because one of the things the simulation I referred to earlier has been encouraging us to do is separate. Keep just like the trails in the sky, keep separating. They're trying to get us to separate out, so we don't speak to our brothers, our neighbours, our friends and family anymore, and we become more and more like what is the modern term, an incel. We're basically in our own prison within our mind. And the other thing that I was going to mention also, I was going to talk about this as well, the magnets. Now, these are rare earth magnets, as I say, and this doesn't take that long to build. You don't have to be a genius to make this. Anybody can do it. All you have to do is buy yourself a little bit of plastic piping, which you'll probably see this in it. They sell this in any hardware store. You probably have to get the magnets online if you've got nowhere local. These are rare earth, like I say, and it takes quite an effort to push them together. So as you've got like north and north, south and south, but as you bring that together, that will close, so it makes the ring. And like I said, place that round your wrist like so, and even if you wanted to, if you really wanted to super disturb all the nanotechnology, what you could do, and I've done this, is put a coil around the magnetic field and pulsate the coil through it. So you'd set it up to a battery and you just keep doing that with the pulse of the electric, and that will interfere with the magnetic field, and it will literally render any nanotechnology inert very quickly. But you got to remember that this place is a soul lesson for all of us, and we have to relearn much of the things which we have let go by the way, so we say. And I'm gonna leave this one here, but what I do want to ask is, could you send this video or any of my videos to anybody you know and just say, do you think this bloke's a complete nutter? Because that way you're covering yourself, but if you've been entertained for 20 odd minutes, then I'm happy to I'm happy to share. But the trouble is, I've realised that YouTube isn't as easy to use as I thought it was, because I don't know much about technology. I'm learning as I'm going. So if you could help me in any way by pressing any buttons or sending my videos to people you know and getting their opinion, I'd really appreciate it. So like I said, if you can help me help you and disseminate this information and all the stuff I've learned over the past 15 years, I would like to share it all with you and build a little community. And that's going to cover things like crop circles and ghosts and, like I said, reality itself and the way we perceive it. There's going to be so much in these videos over the next few years. I'm sure you're going to enjoy the journey with me. So please come and join me in the next video after this one for another JJ's musing, and we'll cover another subject. And if you want me to cover any subjects, if I don't know about it, I will say I don't know, so I won't make stuff up. But if I already know about it, I've researched it, I'll share that knowledge with you. So if you have any questions about anything, by all means put them in the comments. And I still haven't figured out how to reply to them comments yet. Like I said, I'm brand new to this technology, so you're going to have to bear with me as I learn how to use it. But that's wonderful. So I'll see you in the next one, and welcome to the lifeboat.